ladies and gentlemen, I am joined now by award winner, multi-award winner, absolutely outstanding South African artist in his own nature, stands up to the best. He is one of the best. Dan Patlansky, how you doing, my friend?
I'm absolutely fantastic, and even better to be chatting to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's been a few years, but a lot's happened, and we're not talking about the rubbish that's been happening over the last couple of years with all this pandemic. We know about it. But on a plus note, you've got a brand new single out, Hands Loose. You've got a brand new album coming out, 2022 this year. I just cannot wait just to hear it all and see the reactions. And it's really cool how this is happening, because you've held on to this little gem of yours for a few years because of obvious reasons, and you're releasing it 2022. Just tell me the thoughts about it. Why now? What's happening 2022? Why 2022? And why didn't you release it during the pandemic?
Well, basically, it's a great question. Basically, the album was ready to go at the beginning of 2020, ready to be toured, ready to smash it out there. And, you know, when you can't tour an album, it's very, very difficult to release an album. You know, not many people will tour you, not many people will book tours for you if you don't have a new product, right? So, you know, I just kept on being told, hold it back, hold it back, hold it back, until the world, you know, returns to relative normality, and then we can, you know, we can release the album and tour it. So, as you can imagine, this has been something burning to be released for me. I mean, this is an old album for me already.
Yes.
I've been listening to this album for 2.5 years now. So I'm just so glad, you know, for it to be released now, you know.
And for the people that haven't had, well, you know, what haven't got this, February 2022 is out. I've been privileged enough to listen to a couple of little things, and it still remains fresh to say that you've written this over 2 years ago. And it seems to be an album completely different from the past albums, because it seems a little bit more personal of what's going on. Am I right by saying that?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think when it comes to writing new songs, lyrics, that type of thing, you know, I tend to stray away from the classic, cliched, you know, content that blues musicians write about and blues rock musicians write about.
Yeah.
And I'm trying my best to kind of, you know, make it real personal and make it, you know, something very relevant to what's happening in my life, in my personal life, which, you know, often is the case, is happening in a lot of people's lives. So on this album, you know, that's kind of the direction I really, really wanted to head in, is to chat about, you know, what's going on in my life, the things that are kind of grinding my gears and annoying me, the things that I feel passionate about, you know, a wee bit of social commentary every now and then on, you know, things in the world that I disagree with or irritate me. So for me, that's always been the best way forward for me. It's the most honest way forward, and I believe if you're honest in your music, I think it's far more relatable to people if you're just being, you know, truthful and honest on what you're writing.
We've summed it up pretty much there. But again, you've got some great tracks on here, you know, and each track is different in its own right. You've switched things around a little bit. You know, you've brought in an old keyboard player, I believe, which adds that different sound, which I always like anyway. But what's the reason for the first single? And I guess you get asked this quite a lot, but is the first single that you've released, you know, Hands Loose, does it set the standard for the rest of the album? You know, is that the reason why you released that? What, you know?
Well, it's a great question again, because, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, is because I'm so close to the album, and I've, you know, from the songwriting process, which happened many years ago, slowly writing the songs. Then you get into the studio, and I produce the album, or most of the album. Yeah. And now you're sitting with the songs, and you're arranging the songs, and then you get into the mixing phase of the album, and then the mastering phase. You know, by the time that album is done and dusted, you've heard these songs a bazillion times, right? And it's very, very difficult for me as the artist to isolate a single, say, this is the single I want to be released first. So I always got to take it to like a third party and fresh ears. Yeah. People that haven't heard the album before, to say, what do you think is going to be a single? Because I literally have no idea when I'm sitting with the album. And Hounds Loose was chosen as the single for the album. It might not necessarily have been my choice for a single. You know, if I'm honest, I've got no problems with it being a single. I love the song, love performing the song, you know, all that. But it literally is almost suggestions from, you know, people in the industry, people I work with, that say this should be the single, because literally I feel like I'm partially deaf by the time, you know, deaf to the music, you know.
I completely understand that.
It just, completely, man. So that's kind of the answer to that. It was just kind of a suggestion by a bunch of people to choose that as a single.
Did you not panic though when these guys did that? Think, what if this goes the other way? Because you're an artist and you want your best work out. I mean, that's so true. You do. You know, making an album full stop is like the biggest panic in the world. It really is. It's like you write the songs and you have self-doubt from the second you start writing the song. It's like, I kind of like the song that I'm writing, but is anyone else on planet Earth going to even, you know, is it going to be the worst song ever written, right? And then when you're recording the album, is the production going to be right for the song? Are people going to like the song or like the album? And then eventually, I mean, and this has been painful for me because this has been like almost a 2.5-year process of just sitting on these songs. And then you just have so much self-doubt kind of creeping in. And then, you know, people say, this is the single. And you go, okay, great. I'm happy to go with the single, but is it the single? Is it really the single? Is this the right song to go ahead with? So it's a roller coaster ride, man. Especially during the last couple of years, because you know normally on an album you record an album, you mix the album, you master the album, and then like 4 or 5 months later the album's released. Yes, and it's quick. It's a quick process. So you almost eliminate your brain a bit, right? You just like you're left pondering a little bit, and whatever happens, happens. But now you get way too deep into your own brain on everything on the album. So it's been tough, man. I can imagine it has. But you've got a UK tour 2022 with the lovely Ariel, beautiful, and it kicks off in March, which is going to be great, supporting the album and as well as the older stuff. Because again, people that read this that are not knowing who you are, you know, your music, like I say, it's very diverse. You go way back. You got a nice catalogue of music, you know. Was it 9 albums? I think it is, something like that. Am I wrong? You know, is it the 10th?
I think it's something like that.
But 11 albums. I think it's 10 or 11 albums. 11. I'm positive. And the last one was 2018, Perfection Kills. I remember that right. And you had a successful tour with that. And I guess this is that chance again to get out there and deliver it to the faithful, to the newcomers, and really give it what you want to give it, you know. And I guess have you already rehearsed this album, you know, live and see how it comes off? You know, do you know how is it going to be? You know how it's going to run through?
Well, that's a good question, is because, you know, when you record an album, I mean, you know, in the past, at least when I was recording albums, the last thing on my mind was how am I going to play it live? It was just about getting the song down. But on this album, I did think a little bit in the back of my head, like, these songs need to work live too. Yeah. So I haven't rehearsed the songs in a band sense yet, but I've sat on my own, and I've kind of worked out live arrangements, because every song will change a little bit just to fit into the live kind of platform. Yeah. But, you know, at the moment, it's mostly about putting a live set list together, right? You know, it's, I think, you know, a lot of people think if you release a new album, those are the only songs that you play at the show. But, you know, you can't do that. You got to play older songs, back catalog songs. And the songs together have to make sense in a live show.
Exactly. You want to go on a journey. You want to move. Yeah. Put in the right songs in the right places and take people for that ride and make it enjoyable.
Exactly. And then, you know, there might be older songs that add something to the live set that newer songs don't. So you've got to kind of bring them in. Yeah. So I'm in the process at the moment of just putting a set list together. And then, you know, I'm touring South Africa before I head to the UK.
Yeah, so it's great, the journey that you've been on. You've been on such a journey. You know, you've opened for Springsteen in South Africa. You've played all over the world. You've got everything going for you. You really have. And again, you've picked up awards. You've had great reviews. Joe Bonamassa, he gave you great reviews, and that's the king, as you know. Is there anything that you can you say right now then, I know you've got the album coming out and the tour. Is there anything that you have on your list that you want to really hit?
Well, I think, you mentioned Joe Bonamassa earlier. I think he's a guy to look up to as far as, as a guitar player, as a blues musician, sure. But as a career, that's, I think, a lot of blues and blues-based musicians' goals. If I could, one day do touring like he does and venue sizes he does, that's really, really the dream. And it's just the reason I say that's a dream is not necessarily a financially driven kind of dream. It's a dream to, keep what I do alive, right?
Yeah.
And if you're doing it on that kind of scale, it means that you can continue doing this thing, right? It's not going to, come to an end in a month's time and you've got to go get a job at the bank or something, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can really do that. And that's really, for me, the most important thing. My passion is playing music, and I want to, and I've been fortunate enough to play music for the last, 25 years of my life, right? And make a living out of it. And for me, it's just about continuing to be able to make a living out of it and live comfortably and just do what I love the most, man. And that's playing the guitar, writing music, and performing music, man. For me, that's the thing. And that's why I kind of say Joe Bonamassa.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Dan Patlansky with new album out, Shelter Bones, released 25th February 2022 with the tour with Ariel, kicks off in March. Go and check it out. All the best, my friend. I've absolutely blown away with what you do. Really am.
Well, brother, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure chatting to you, and I hope to see some of your people at the shows. Yeah,
exactly. We will do, ladies and gentlemen. It is Dan Patlansky.